Top 10 Richest Criminal Organizations. Today, we're delving into the world of organized crime in order to identify the most financially successful criminal organizations. Organized crime has existed in some form for centuries, but with the rise of the mob mafia and other criminal organizations in the 1970s, modern criminal groups became more prevalent. These organizations range from the Russian mafia to Mexican drug cartels to American street gangs, and almost every country has their own form of organized crime syndicate. According to the United States Organized Crime Control Act, organized crime is defined as the unlawful activities of a highly organized or disciplined association. The majority of these organizations make money through drug trafficking, financial crimes, violence, cybercrimes, and human trafficking. In compiling this list, we looked at the available information about the financial statuses of some of the world's most successful crime organizations, such as reported numbers, estimated amounts of drug sales, seizures of value, and other factors. Many of these figures are, at best, estimates of the group's net worth, because these organizations aren't always forthcoming with their financial information. Let us now look more closely at these top criminal segments and their lucrative activities with the world's top 10 richest organized criminal organizations. Knights Templar Cartel, worth an estimated $13 million, serving as the leader of the Knights Templar cartel before becoming a founding member of the La Familia Mexicana cartel. The second cartel was established when the Knights Templar cartel divided before becoming a part of the most notorious drug cartel. This cartel makes millions by supplying and trafficking methamphetamines and marijuana across the U.S. border. According to Foucault, Martinez was a wise man who avoided authorities for decades, having allowed the infamous cartel to be among the deadliest and most dangerous cartels in history. The cartel's properties alone were seized for an estimated $14 million in 2014. These were the locations where the criminals managed to carry out their heinous activities. Martinez was apprehended by Mexican authorities in 2015 after his girlfriend delivered a chocolate cake to him. The security forces were watching her every move. Unbeknownst to her, La Familia, a Templar branch, ran more than 50 meth labs. The Knights Templar cartel not only trafficked drugs, but they also murdered and trafficked people. Las Zetas. The Zetas, worth $8.75 billion, were responsible for thousands of deaths throughout violent drug and turf wars. The victims were frequently discovered in shallow mass graves or swinging from bridges. The professor of Latin America politics once called Las Zetas' leader the most psychopathic drug capo in all of Mexico. It has been stated that he did not kill because he had to, but because he greatly enjoyed it while under his command. The Zetas were locked in a turf war with the Gulf Sinaloa and Knights Templar cartels, two of Mexico's most powerful cartels. The majority of the cartel members chose a life away from the spotlight. The less they drew attention to themselves, the better it was for them to carry out their heinous activities unnoticed. Tijuana Cartel, estimated to be worth $9.5 billion. The Tijuana Cartel was Mexico's most powerful cartel throughout the 1990s and 2000s, but after the arrest of their leaders and numerous attacks by other prolific cartels in Mexico, the cartel was weakened exponentially. This cartel was once thought to be the most dangerous, operating from the border town of Tijuana. They are kingpins during their time. Two brothers were arrested, leaving the remaining brother and mother in charge. This was the most powerful and violent cartel. If you slept with a cartel member's wife, you were castrated. If they couldn't buy someone's loyalty, the cartel would simply kill them. Their victims number in the thousands. This cartel killed informants, police officers, bystanders, judges, and even a Catholic cardinal, regardless of who they were. Extortion and bribery were part of their game, as were numerous narcotics they brought into the United States. Gulf Cartel. The Gulf Cartel, worth $9.9 billion, is one of Mexico's oldest criminal organizations. While they primarily operate in Mexico, they also traffic drugs across the United States and into Europe. However, drugs aren't the only thing the particularly violent cartel deals in. They're also involved in a variety of other aspects of the underworld. They've been linked to a high-profile extrajudicial killings, as well as global kidnappings. The Gulf Cartel is known for its extreme violence, and several of its kingpins have been imprisoned. Their smuggling routes are still active throughout the United States. The Gulf Cartel is one of the world's 5 most powerful cartels. Medellin Cartel. The Medellin Cartel, with an estimated net worth of $14 billion. There are compelling reasons to believe it is in the billions. Why? The Medellin Cartel, on the other hand, was the home of Pablo Escobar, the most prolific and brutal cartel boss in world history, and it's estimated that he made $400 million. He was brought in as a middleman by the Medellin Cartel. He quickly rose to the ranks, however, due to his bloodthirsty ability to carry out any crime. He took over the Medellin Medellin cartel after assassinating the kingpin. In the world of drug trafficking, there are 5 lines of cocaine, 4 of which come from the Medellin cartel, which spends $2,500 per month on rubber bands to wrap their money stacks. In 1991, Escobar surrendered to the authorities. The Medellin cartel controls 80% of the cocaine trade. They used a variety of modes of transportation, including trucks, cars, jets, and boats. Submarines were even used. Medellin enjoyed lavishness. Escobar was accommodated in a prison with a spa, casino, dance club, and phone access. These are just a few of the high-end amenities enjoyed by the Medellin cartel. Triad. The Triad, which is worth $169 billion, is not just one group, like the Yakuza and the Russian Mafia. Although they are primarily based in Hong Kong, the Triad has factions all over the world. Among their many criminal activities are drug trafficking, racketeering, and human trafficking. Members of the Triad, unlike members of criminal organizations, do not need approval from the group's top dog. In fact, the lower members have greater mobility. This works because if they are apprehended by authorities, the higher-ranking members can claim deniability. The Triad is nothing to laugh at. Some of the most brutal and horrific killers are among their ranks, and their members can be as young as 13 years old. Russian Mafia, $19 billion in value. While their net worth is not as impressive as that of the Camorra, it far outnumbers that of their Italian rivals. The Russian Mafia is divided into 6,000 subgroups. With so many different groups, the Russian Mafia population exceeds 3 million people. With such large numbers, all manner of illegal activities are possible. They can range from the lowest man on the totem pole to the highest-ranking members of the most exclusive political circles. Russian Mafia members are rumored to have influential ties with high-ranking government officials. The top dogs in these groups live lavish lives in fortified mansions, driving expensive cars, and eating only the finest cuisine. Yakuza. Yakuza, which is valued at $23 billion, may be the most productive organization the world has ever seen. While Yakuza is not the name of a specific gang or family, it is the collective name for a group of gangs or families. It's the equivalent of the Mafia in Japan. They are well known around the world for their distinctive tattoos and missing fingers. The Yakuza's most terrifying and dangerous trait is that they don't bother hiding the members of this organization, who works with politicians as well as law enforcement. They have a main office and have even assisted Japan after a recent tsunami. Yakuza members are prolific in all areas, from drug trafficking to racketeering, to prostitution, to gambling. At one point, the Yakuza did not see themselves as villains so much as heroes or protectors of villages, but as time passed, different paths were taken, and they quickly gained more ground and power. Their membership has grown to an impressive 80,000 people. Sinaloa Cartel. There aren't too many people who might not have heard of the Sinaloa Cartel, which is worth between $18 to $39 billion. One of the most notorious cartels in the 1980s and 1990s. They were only moving a few kilos at the time when they first started drug running. However, as time passed, so did the demand for their products. The Sinaloa Cartel began to grow and ranked through Colombian trafficking as their demand increased. El Chapo, the elusive and terrifying leader, is well known throughout the world. In fact, he was once dubbed Public Enemy Number 1. Sinaloa trafficked narcotics throughout the country, and their primary focus is in Chicago. The Sinaloa Cartel is thought to be one of the most notorious and largest suppliers of illegal narcotics in the United States. They have secured major highways that run across the country. Their money is spent on lots of investments, which are used to build their empire and pay off officials. If their leaders live extravagant lifestyles, their pockets are also lined. After all, they wouldn't be number 1 if they weren't flashy with their money. Camorra, $167 billion in value. When it comes to the mob, almost everyone has heard of the Sopranos, but the Camorra is the world's richest crime syndicate. It is the largest and is primarily based in Italy, dating back to the 17th century. Camorra, like the Yakuza, is made up of several different clans operating under the same umbrella. They are mostly concentrated in Italy and control major industries such as milk and fish. They also have control over the coffee trade and over 2,000 bakeries in Naples. It is estimated that there are over 112 Camorra clans with over 6,800 members. The illegal activities of the Camorra can range from extortion to murder, drug trafficking to money laundering. When it comes to this type of bad guy, the sky is truly the limit. There don't seem to be any lines that these clans aren't afraid to cross. They are top-tier executives who live extravagant lifestyles because they control local governments. That concludes our look at the world's 10 wealthiest criminal organizations. While many of these organizations are still in operation, others are gradually declining as a result of leadership dissension. We'd like to know what kind of life you'd lead if you are a member of one of these criminal organizations, now that you've learned more about them. As a special treat, we've included a couple of interesting facts at the end for you. Did you know that some organized crime groups, such as the Mafia, actually forbid certain crimes? That's correct. Kidnapping and theft are strictly prohibited in some families. If a member is caught doing any of these, the punishment is swift and often fatal. And Juan Carrera smuggled Mexican whiskey into the United States during Prohibition. That's all for today, guys. See you in the next video.